I've seen a lot of gardening advice online that is bad, misleading, or even a lie. And it's not always that someone is trying to trick you. Sometimes it is, but many times it's because they don't know what they're talking about. And that's what I want to talk about in this video. My breakdown of the 5 different categories of bad gardening advice that I've been seeing. And be sure to stick around for number 3, because by talking about it, I'm probably going to lose out on some money, maybe a lot of money, but at least my integrity will be intact, which is much more important to me. And if you have any specific examples of bad gardening advice that you want to share in a comment, please do. Let's call out that bad advice that we've seen so maybe others won't fall for it. The first problem I want to talk about is location-specific gardening advice made general. One thing that comes to mind are videos like this, where people say, these are the 5 crops, these are the 10 crops that you need to be growing in any given month. Well, that may work for them, but may not work for you. So you need to be thinking about that, because growing in Texas is very different than growing in Minnesota. And maybe you know this. And I'm calling out these creators right here because these are creators that I follow, that I like, that I really enjoy. So I feel okay, calling them out on videos like this. And this is a mistake that I've made in some of my videos. And you may be thinking, well, Tyler, of course, you need to be growing by your USDA growing zones. This map right here. Well, here's the thing. I'm in growing zone 7A. And I could say that everybody in 7A needs to be doing the same thing, but that would be very bad gardening advice. You should not be growing your garden based on your USDA growing zone. And that's because the USDA growing zone is for perennial plants. Most of what we're planting in our gardens are annuals. A better map would be this one. This map shows your average last frost date, the average last frost dates across the United States. Now, I know I have a lot of people who watch my videos that are from different countries. I just have the maps for the United States because that's where I am and that's what I know. So when you're watching videos, think about, is this information that's being presented to me actually going to work in my context? If you want to plan out your garden rather than watching videos about what to plant in a certain month, start learning about your first and last frost dates, about soil temperature. That is going to help you a whole lot more. Problem number 2 can best be summarized as first-time experience passed off as expertise. I've seen a lot of videos where people are talking about something that is matter of fact, that they're only doing for the first time. One thing that comes to mind are food forests. I've seen a lot of videos about people starting their own food forest and talking about all the benefits. And not saying that food forests are bad, but I want to see food forest on year 3, on year 5, on year 10. Not what someone thinks is going to happen, but talking about more, actual learned experience. Garden gadgets are another thing. You see a lot of videos that are essentially unboxing of the newest toy. Well, I want to know what tools someone has been using for many years that are tried and true that they always grab, not the latest fad. So if you're watching a video, I always try to think about, are they taking me along on a journey that they're experimenting, which is totally fine. I make videos like that. Or are they actually talking from a experience that they've had over many years? So think about that. Is this a first-time experience or is this an expert conversation? And problem number 3 is affiliate sales and brand deals. This is the one that might get me in some trouble. Recently, I had a video that did really well. Maybe you guys are watching me now because of that video. And because of it, I've had a lot of gardening brands reach out to me, wanting to give me free stuff to make videos about, which is kind of cool. But one problem that I have with a lot of these people that are reaching out, they want me to make videos on a really quick timeline, not give me enough time to actually use the product. Or they've even offered to pay me money to use the product and make a video about it. Well, that's not a review, that's a commercial. So for all of the brands that have reached out to me, I've told them this. If I'm going to use your product, I need to use it for several months. And when I make my video, you have no sign off on it. You don't get to see what I'm going to make, what I'm going to say. I'm going to post it. Otherwise, I don't want to work with them. And I've had several companies that have said, okay, that sounds great. We look forward to working with you. And some that have said, well, we really need to review the video. Well, then I really don't need your product. So when you're seeing a video, when someone is talking about a new product, are they making money from it? Do they have links down below that when you click it, you're gonna, buy the product, they'll get a little bit of a commission? Well, if that's the case, there's an incentive for them to really sell the product because, I like making money. I'm not saying that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I don't want to talk about any product in a positive light just to make a few bucks. So think about that when someone is talking about a product, when someone has links in their video. I probably have links in this video to Amazon. All of those products are things that I've used for quite some time, and if you click on one of those links and you buy it, I do get a little bit of a kickback at no cost to you. But think about that when someone is talking about a product. Have they been paid to talk about it? How long have they been using it? And did the company have final say and sign off before they posted that video? Because they may not be saying all of what they think. And now that I've said this, brands may no longer want to work with me in the future. I have one company that I'm going to do 2 things with, but maybe after they see this, they'll change their mind. I hope not. So I don't know if you know this, but I am a scientist. I have degrees in ecology and environmental science. And one of the things when looking at experimental design, you always think about your population size. And a lot of people talk about things that they've done once and talk about it that it's going to always work, that it is fact. We call that a sample size of 1, N of 1. And just because it worked for them doesn't mean that it actually worked. Maybe it was always going to work. Maybe the thing that they did didn't actually change anything. Something that comes to mind is issue with blossom end rot with tomatoes. Blossom end rot happens because the tomato has a lack of calcium. So people will crush up eggshells, maybe even tums, and bury those around their tomato, maybe when they plant it, and then they'll say, look, I no longer have blossom end rot because I did this. This works. Well, blossom end rot is a problem with calcium uptake, but usually the issue isn't calcium in the soil, but rather a mismatch or an imbalance of watering, that there's not consistent watering, making that calcium mobile and uptaking it. So adding eggshells or crushing up a tums actually didn't fix the problem. Maybe they changed how they watered, or maybe it just rained more. So people talk about things that are matter of fact, where they have a small sample size, their own one experience, and they don't think about the other things that could have changed it or influenced it. So when someone is talking about something, I like to think, is this a one-off? Are there other examples of this working? Or what does the scientific literature say? If I can pull from a scientific study and present it in a video and include a link to that study, I love that, because then it adds credence to what I'm saying. So look out for that. Look out for those N of 1, where someone did something and it worked for them. Well, it doesn't necessarily mean it worked for the reasons that they think it did. And problem number 5 would be repackaging tips rather than actually gardening, learning, doing, and sharing it. I've seen this a lot on other platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and it's something that I feel like I've actually been doing for my past several videos because we're not really in the height of the growing season, but I am talking about my own experience rather than things that I've just seen on other videos, read on blogs, and repackaged and haven't done myself. So I always try to make a purpose or a case that if I'm talking about something, it's something that I've done. If I'm talking about an idea that I've only heard about, I will frame it as such. So I don't want to just scour the internet or go onto something like ChatGPT and say, write me a video about this thing and talk authoritatively about something that I've never actually done myself. So be wary of people who just repackage tips and aren't actually out gardening and doing it themselves. So how do I make sure that I don't fall prey to bad gardening influencers? Well, I made kind of my 3 tenets, my checkpoints is, trusting creators who show long-term results, but also their failures. I want to see when stuff goes wrong. I learn a lot more from that than when I see everything going right. I want to know what you did that didn't work. And then number 2 would be look for science-backed or experience-based advice. And then the last one is test things yourself instead of blindly following trends. If something says something will work, maybe don't try it on your whole garden, but do little trials yourself. Have your own little N of 1 experiment. Have fun in the garden. That's one of the things that I like about gardening. It's my place to play, to try new things out, some which fail miserably, but most turn out pretty okay. So if you want more videos about me experimenting in my garden and what I've learned, be sure to subscribe. If you have any other things that you've seen online of bad advice, share it down below. Share all the bad advice that you've seen. It would greatly be appreciated. My name is Tyler Lloyd, and I wish you the very best. See you later.